Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Fawad Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, let's talk about President Zelenskyy meeting with U.S. President Joe Biden this afternoon with a major speech to Congress this evening. We'll talk about why Ukraine continues to show its wants to keep the solidarity between America and Ukraine solid as we are entering the 10th month of war between Russia and Ukraine. We'll have that conversation. Also, we're going to be checking in with the uncle of Tyler Lewis. This is the University of Buffalo student who was stabbed while on campus. Ryan Trollington will be checking in with us to share with us the latest in that particular case and how there are still so many questions that are left unanswered. And then, can we talk about Nick Cannon? How he has lamented about not being there for his 11 children with the 12th child on the way. We'll talk a little bit about that and how one of his children's mothers has come to his defense on social media. But is this the right message? We'll have that conversation. And then later on, let's talk about should wealthy black folks start to consider buying Twitter? Elon Musk has said that he will step down as a result of the poll that he posted. But now, people are wondering what will be the fate of the social media. Stay with us, all of that, and I got something for trends posted doing the most. So stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Fawad Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. First up, let's talk about the big conversation or the big meeting between Ukraine President Zelenskyy and President Joe Biden this afternoon. The meeting will be held as a result of both presidents trying to figure out what's the next course of action as the war between Russia and Ukraine has hit a 10-month milestone, and there has been a change in strategy as Ukraine are not just fighting Russian forces on the city grounds, but also in the forest as well, in the forest of Ukraine. So the President Biden will be meeting with Zelenskyy today. And then at around the 7:30 mark this evening, President Zelenskyy is scheduled to talk to all of Congress to further solidify the partnership between America and Ukraine. Let's talk a little bit about this as I'm joined by our New Culture crew member, Suzette Speaks. She's the TV host and attorney. You can definitely check her out on her YouTube show, Suzette Speaks. And we are so happy that she's joining our team. She joined our team today to be a part of the conversation. Suzette, how are you this afternoon?
Fantastic. Season's greetings to you, Faraji, and to everybody watching. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Suzette, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in D.C. Another big meeting between the president. Some people, it's been reported, Suzette, that this is a quote-unquote surprise visit by Zelenskyy. But regardless of the matter, the president is going to take some time away from his busy schedule to meet with President Zelenskyy of Ukraine and to shore up the support that America has already given Ukraine. Now, the president is also expected to share that he's planning to allocate more funds to Ukrainian forces in the billions of dollars. It's a big deal. It is a huge deal, even during a time when the sentiment of Americans across this country are questioning, what is this all for? What do you make of this situation, Suzette?
Well, first and foremost, we are learning that war is expensive, extremely expensive. And it is in our microwave, short attention span climate where we in the United States have probably even forgotten somewhat about what's going on. There is a ground war happening on lands in Europe for the first time since World War II. This is an extremely pivotal moment for President Zelenskyy, and he realizes that with the change in our U.S. House of Representatives, with the Republicans now taking over the majority. He does not want policy shifts and wants to ensure that he has the United States' backing, not only in sentiment, but of course financially. We are very fortunate that we have not had to, with the exception of Pearl Harbor, to experience war on our home front. But he is living it, breathing it, and has been a beacon of hope for his people over the last several months, as you mentioned. What strikes me about this is that I've never seen, and again, taking kind of a shorter view, last 30 years, someone who is in the middle of such a pivotal war come to the United States, to the White House, to meet currently with a leader while the war is going on. Of course, they had to make it somewhat of a surprise because, of course, Vladimir Putin is watching every move and has gone to new levels of destruction. He has started, or over the last several weeks, has been attacking the infrastructure related to the power grid in Ukraine. As you may not know, or some of you may, who are following what's going on over there, this is a kind of a human rights condition, really, because it gets so cold and it's wintertime in Ukraine. And instead of fighting soldiers, face to face or on the battlefield, he is now attacking civilian, or has been attacking civilian strongholds where he is looking at the energy grid as a weapon of war. So you have people literally freezing while this war is occurring. And so Mr. Zelenskyy is here to plead his case. He is going to get the audience with the joint session of Congress, as you mentioned, later on this evening. That shows how much of an important visit this is for us. I know strategically we would rather have, or I believe the U.S. government would rather have Zelenskyy fighting Mr. Putin directly and supporting his efforts, as opposed to us getting kind of entangled through kind of a NATO, which I say domino effect, if this goes any further. So it's very important for us to pay attention to this visit.
Absolutely. And this is an entanglement that I don't even think Jada Pinkett would have agreed to. Poor sense of word choice.
Yes, okay.
But it's I mean, it's an expensive entanglement, considering it comes to the tune of $1.85 billion that the U.S. has already agreed to support Kyiv and Ukrainian forces. Another 1.8. I mean, there's already been billions of dollars that has been spent on this situation, but now it's just money is just going. And my concern is, one is that I think a lot of American folks trying to figure out, like, what to what end, right? We're talking about all of these domestic issues that have yet to be really addressed, or these domestic issues that have yet to be really funded, and we're dealing with a situation over there. And I think that has always been one of the huge challenges of this country, traditionally and historically, that when wars are fought on foreign ground and America invests in those countries of interest, that the American people feel like, who's picking up the tab for this one? And I think that's one of the key things that I don't think that this White House has really communicated. And I mean, this is not just about Biden. Republicans don't communicate things when they make big decisions. I'm talking about like a President Bush or past Republican presidents. The Washington don't talk to the American people and say, hey, we want to send $1.8 billion of your money that's coming from some pot.
All these taxpayers here, yeah.
Is that okay? I mean, there's no conversation. It's just, and I mean, maybe we shouldn't expect a conversation, but I'm just thinking, like, $1.8 billion can help out a lot in America, not across the waters.
I have so much empathy for people who are screaming, you always say, U.S. government, we don't have the money. But all of a sudden, when it's time to fund war efforts, all of a sudden we have billions and billions of dollars. I think what is critical to realize is that U.S. foreign aid is a huge part of our government's budget on a regular basis. It just so happens that because we are in this kind of funding cycle when it comes to Ukraine, we are more aware. But we spend a lot of money overseas, billions of dollars, to create stability, to promote democracy, to promote education, to protect the rights of women. There are all kinds of public policy initiatives that go on across the globe. So this one in particular, though, has begun to kind of I don't know, wane a little bit when it comes to the favorability of the American public. I know with time going by, you know, our soundbite society, we are now like, wait a minute, do we need to be over there? We were a critical part, I think, especially in the beginning stages of being somewhat of a deterrent. I think we, in my personal opinion, need to keep to a certain level funding this war and helping the Ukrainians fight Vladimir Putin on their turf, so that we don't become entangled, like I said, even further, as this can grow into a world war, honestly, with, you know, just the drop of a wrong bullet or bomb in the wrong state. So it seems like, oh my goodness, we should be doing other things, but it is still a very critical ground war that we need to support.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to continue our conversation about this meeting between President Biden and President Zelenskyy. And they're expected to do a joint press conference at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and continue to take your comments. We're going to start taking your comments in the next segment. So stay with us. This discussion continues here on The Culture, here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, we have been talking about this historic meeting between President Biden and President Zelenskyy of Ukraine, who has made his way from Ukraine. And this is the first conversation, the first in-person meeting since the war started between Russia and Ukraine nearly 10 months ago. And now the President Zelenskyy is looking to shore up its support from the United States And its support is coming at a major cost of $1.85 billion that the United States has pledged to continue to for its military aid in sending arsenal and other military defense equipment over, including Patriot missiles. Now, also, President Zelenskyy is scheduled to talk to a joint session of Congress this evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and leaving many people to wonder what is going to be what's the end result of this whole process, as Russia and Ukraine have been engaged in war for the past 10 months. Let's bring back Suzette Speaks, our culture crew member here, to talk to us about this. And Suzette, one of the big things that the President Zelenskyy wants to get across is the fact that they're fighting Russia on many different fronts right now. Like I mentioned earlier, not just in the city spaces, but also in the forest spaces. You mentioned, of course, the resources. But then we got to throw in the fact that the merchant of death is back home in Russia. So this war, and I saw President Putin put this word out, saying that even though he said he admits some mistakes in how the war has been fought from his side, there is no limit. This is the term he uses, that there is no limit to how far he will go to win this war. What does that mean to you, and how does that impact foreign policy for the United States in relationship to this crisis?
Yeah, it is a quite eye-opening remark to make, because I think we all are aware that the United States is a nuclear power, so is Moscow. So to make those type of threats and to have already started using missiles that are capable of carrying nuclear warheads, they haven't had any on them, but to already start implementing that type of technology is quite frightening, and it's meant to intimidate, right? Those words are meant to say, I'm here for the long haul. I think those who have written biographies on Vladimir Putin and have studied him know that he is a man that is, the word desperate might be too strong for power, but he's going to do everything he can to remain in power and to, retain his control over Russia. So the question becomes, do we really want, like, for argument's sake, to see Ukraine fall into the hands of Russia? If that happens, then we have what is essentially Russia on NATO bordering NATO states. So when we think about the commitment that we have been a part of for since World War II, NATO is important to maintain the order and peace of our hopefully our world. But I think in this instance, seeing this visit, it is a large, which is a symbol of how committed the United States is to the Ukrainian cause. So looking at this visit, I think it's something that will raise eyebrows in Moscow, will allow, the rest of the world to remember this is happening and to know that we're not the only ones that should be supporting it. I do agree with some of the commentators I see here in the chat. We always want to find money for war, but we never find anything when it comes to other public policy that can actually help United States citizens and Americans. I hear you loud and clear. But the implications of what it would mean to have Ukraine fully enveloped into Russia, I think the stakes are too high for us to kind of back out now. And I think other powers in Europe are also feeling the same way and also are lending their support. But of course, we are like the driver. Some people call us the world police, and they're mad about it. But we've held that role for some time, and some would argue it's actually a good thing that we have that role, that we are trying to maintain that hegemonic order. But I think it's something that, again, when we look at the ramifications of what happens if the Russians win, it'll probably allow us to kind of maintain that long view as to why we are investing all this money in the first place.
Absolutely. I hear you. Let's go to our culture crew. Our online culture crew, they're going to give it to us like they do.
Giving it to us straight.
Absolutely. Janelle, you checked in and said, look, the questions we should be asking is why we have allowed so much to go to the defense industry for decades before Ukraine without required accountability and real proof that it was to protect democracy.
Valid point.
Let me think on this, Janelle. Because America wants to be in control of everything.
And powers that be got to make money.
Look, this is a country that loves to be that number one superpower, quote unquote, right? Even though, I mean, we can, it's debatable that it might be China that might actually be the one of the top superpowers. It might be another country. But America has, to your point, Suzette, America loves being a superpower. We've been doing it for years, and unfortunately, it has gotten us into some real quagmires over the years. I mean, we don't have to think back far, like, oh, World War One. We could think about the Korean War. We could think about Pearl Harbor. We could think about Vietnam. We could think about the war in the first Gulf War, right? We could think about the second Gulf War. I mean, war is so unpredictable that you can't go into it thinking you're going to quote unquote win, because there are always some factors that you have not considered, and there are some factors that you did not know existed. So that's the unpredictability of war. Let me see here. Let's go to my sister Corinna. Corinna, you said take note of how Congress passed bills for Ukraine with no debate about how it will be paid. It has been some of the biggest bipartisan bills passed this year, but the media never mentions that part. Yeah, I would agree. But guess what? Guess what, folks? They don't care. I mean, seriously. And I mean, this, we want to believe, look, and it's Suzette, I'm convinced. We have, as the American people and constituents of this country, we have internalized democracy, right? So we have this expectation that democracy, communicating with the people, getting agreement by the people, making decisions, making decisions that are approved by the people. We believe that. That's what we have been conditioned to believe. Those in power say, yeah, we're going to put that word out, but we're going to still do something else behind the doors. Behind the scenes, we're going to make some decisions based upon our interests, not necessarily based on what the people want. That's how I'm seeing it. Am I wrong in thinking that?
No, I think it draws back to the two philosophies that we've seen even in the two presidents. One saying America first. I think, and again, in theory, that he didn't always apply it, but he would say that we should focus inward. We should look at what the people here, and again, for him, it wasn't everybody, but it was the people here that voted for him, was the truth. But nonetheless, he was an inward-looking president with the ideology, at least, that anything that we do should further American interests, and we should be focused on what was happening more so on American soil than other places. Then you have this other kind of school of thought, which is, again, the outward looking, that the more places that we have influence, the better we are economically in the long run anyway. This is why we just had the African leaders here. We're late to Africa. Quite frankly, Russia has been there. China has been there, building infrastructure, making deals with governments, funding whole governments in what they've done in terms of trying to find new spheres of influence. And again, that's the youngest continent, but we are now, okay, President Biden, extending an arm, we want to be there for you too. So if you are not involved overseas, there are other players that kind of fill that vacuum. I've seen it happen in the Caribbean as well. If you're not there, China is funding new bridges, roads, all kinds of things, government palaces, so that it has that kind of informal but very real influence. So if you are of the thought process that we have to kind of promote democracy and spread capitalism so that our dollar continues to be the international currency, we don't really want to answer to, for example, a yen, or we don't want to have another power be able to tell us what to do and tell us to fall in line. So it just depends on where you're landing on that kind of, America first kind of philosophy, or whether you believe that for the world's order's sake, it's more important that America have its tentacles all over and have that influence so that we continue to stabilize, world economies as well as, world peace.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Well, we're going to have to see what's going to be said from President Zelenskyy as he addressed the joint Congress, as he addressed Congress this evening. It's going to be very, very interesting. But just know, if there was a poll about whether America may, should continue to support Ukraine, they might be surprised at the results. But the sentiment is just not all the way there. That
representative leadership sometimes doesn't seem to be representative. Your point is
the representatives ain't representing. I hear that. All right, look, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, folks, let's have a conversation about the unusual, unanswered, and unresolved case of Tyler Lewis. This is the University of Buffalo student who was stabbed to death while on campus, and his family is wondering what happened, why did it happen, and wants to hear some answers and get some accountability. We check in with Tyler's uncle on the next segment. So stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape. With me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Folks, in October of this year, 19-year-old Tyler Lewis was unfortunately stabbed to death on the campus of the University of Buffalo. He's from Long Island and he was a sophomore at the University of Buffalo. And there are still some unresolved questions and unanswered questions about what actually happened and who should be held accountable. Now, the sheriff's department there in Buffalo has said that of course this case is still under investigation, but they do have a person of interest, a white male between the ages of 19 and 22. Even though when Tyler was found stabbed to death, he was with a group of friends who have all hired attorneys and have not answered questions in regards to what happened to Tyler Lewis. Here to talk to us a little bit about this case and to express some level of frustration around not getting certain questions answered is Tyler Lewis's uncle, Ryan Trollinger. Ryan is checking in with us on behalf of the family. Ryan, thank you so much for being with us, brother. We truly appreciate it. I think we got you on mute, brother. Are you on mute? Let me see.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, brother. Thank you again, Ryan, for being with us this afternoon.
Absolutely. I appreciate you letting me leverage your platform to elevate Tyler's story. So thank you again.
Absolutely. So unfortunately, your nephew was killed on campus back in October this year. But 2 months later, there are still a lot of questions. There's no real answers as to what happened on that fateful night of October 19th. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. It's been 2.5 months, but it feels like yesterday that we lost Tyler. The holidays are upon us. My family is devastated. My sister is heartbroken. We're all heartbroken. Tyler was the youngest part of our family. Everybody gave the gifts were around Tyler. So like right now, nobody's really celebrating. So we're all broken. We're really looking to put a lot more pressure on the Buffalo police because it's been 2.5 months, and there's been articles out there that they've said that cases have been solved and resolved in a much quicker fashion, and all we want is justice for Tyler. He deserves that. He's a young man. He had so much potential, and he didn't deserve this.
Your sister Ronquisha Lewis.
Ronquisha. Yep.
Excuse me. Ronquisha Lewis. She has expressed frustration that there is in the local media that there has yet to be any answers. There's no sense of accountability. What has the sheriff's department, the Erie County Sheriff's Department, have told you and your sister, your family, as of today?
Well, basically, as of now, a lot of the stuff that's already been in the news, as far as like there's a white male that was involved in this case. These are things that they've told just in the general news, and it's been 2.5 months. That doesn't seem like it's a long time, but it's been only moment. It's just it's just even more adds to the heartbreak. We're just trying to get answers. They've been very unclear as far as like what exactly has happened during that time. They have all of his phones, his computers, all of that. So I believe they have a scenario that they can bring forward and give us some more information. However, they haven't done so.
Do you think this case is a case of race?
I don't want to be inflammatory and say it's about race, but I want to say that race can possibly be a motivation or a factor in some way. I don't exactly know. I don't have any clues. I don't have a clear understanding of where they're at in the case. But we've seen this in the news previously, and Tyler was a good young man. He was very smart, going to school, doing the right things, all the things that you would want out of a young black man being raised in America, and his life to be taken so hard. We need to put more effort into ensuring that my nephew, my family is getting justice for this, because this is crazy. You think about all the stuff that's going on in the world. It's just like, how is this possible? Like it just doesn't feel real.
And I could only imagine the pain, brother, of that your family may be going through, and even more pain, the fact that you haven't gotten any answers about this case. It was mentioned and reported that Tyler at the night of his death, and he passed away on October 14th, not 19th. So I wanted to correct myself. But mentioned that he was with a group of friends, and now they have all retained lawyers.
Correct.
So what's going on with that? Like, who were the friends? Were any of his friends white friends? Are these a mixed group of friends?
So this is part of the information that we don't have as well today. So they told her that he was with a group of friends going to a party. They haven't given us really clear details as far as like what Tyler was, what are the mishappenings, like, or the happenings, so to speak. Like they mentioned that he got there at 7 o'clock. There was an altercation, and Tyler happened to get stabbed. So they didn't mention anything else, related to that case. That's pretty much all we have.
And was he the only person that was stabbed that night?
He was the only person.
Wow. Talk to us about, Brother Ryan, talk to us about this tracker that your sister, his mother, Rakisha, put on his phone.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe it's a part of like the iPhone where you can kind of track your relatives or the part people in your family. So she had this, and she was able to track Tyler if he went anywhere, especially because, at 19-year-old, sometimes he has the car. You want to know where your son is. So that's part of what she was able to get, but it doesn't tell you exactly what the person's done. This person is, 20 miles away, but you don't know exactly what they're doing there.
Now the police have accessed the phone, and have they found any clues from that?
Don't know. We don't have any. They haven't given us any information around that.
So I'm assuming that you and the family have retained an attorney on this for this case, Brother Ryan.
We're in the process of that.
Okay.
At in the immediate time, we were speaking with the law enforcement, trying to get as much evidence and information as we can. Albeit not as much that we'd like at this moment. I'd like to say that I have full faith in the law enforcement, but as each moment goes on, it's being harder and harder to, you know, have confidence in them. Um, I know people have to do their job, and if I mess up on my job, I'm held accountable. I
Sure.
just want to make sure that the folks that are involved in this case, they're doing their due diligence to make sure that Tyler is brought to justice and our family has the truth of what happened.
I want to bring back my culture crew member Suzette, who is an attorney on this
Okay.
for this. Suzette, what in a case like this with Ryan and Rakisha and Tyler Lewis's family, like, what recourse can they take, given that they're not given as much information, and it's been 2.5 months at this point, Suzette?
Yeah, I have to be very careful because I am a licensed attorney. So anything I say here is not direct legal advice to you. I don't know enough about the case. I've been trying to read up in preparation for today's show, but you need to, in my opinion, retain legal counsel as soon as possible. Just for informational purposes only. I've seen cases like this where there has been some sort of wrongful death. Here in Florida, of course, where families are trying to be as cooperative as they can with law enforcement. But sometimes, and again, I don't know the specifics of your case. You're going to have to speak to an attorney in your jurisdiction. There are these feelings, especially among Black folk, that if we are more cooperative and less combative or less aggressive, we'll get what we need. What can happen to you, though, in that type of dynamic is that things get brushed aside, swept under the rug, and sometimes even ignored because trust me, law enforcement is trying to protect law enforcement, right? And anything they're trying to do, they're going to try to make sure that they have the best narrative as far as it reflects upon them. So you may want to look at other ways. I saw online that you guys have been reaching out to elected officials. You need to be tagging them in everyday posting about your loved one, tagging your state house rep, your U.S. senator, your local officials, your council. The things that we sometimes have to do in order to get our loved one's name out there, it may be uncomfortable, but I think sometimes the court of public opinion can help push specifically law enforcement. It might be uncomfortable, but again, I would advise you to seek counsel from an attorney in your jurisdiction so that they can help guide you. But again, sometimes the quiet approach is not the best as far as the outcome that we desire.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, I believe you're 100% accurate because we know we've been cooperating, and it just seems like 19-year-old Black male going to school doing the right thing. You should want to help the family to solve this case, and as we've seen far too many times, some of this stuff with Black folks just gets swept under the rug, and that's disheartening.
Yeah, we're gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, but you got to look at Buffalo Police Department. I don't know what their track record is, but again, you want to stay on it. And again, I with much empathy for your family, this just doesn't seem right. There seems to be a lot of unanswered questions, and you need to, be pushy a little bit to get those answered. But definitely, as soon as possible, I would say retain counsel, so that you can get someone who is advocating, holding the press conferences for you, organizing for you. If you need to get local chapters of different advocacy groups involved, don't let them kind of lull you into letting time pass and important evidence going away and people lawyering up, that is so much red flag there. You need to get counsel.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we'll continue our conversation with Ryan Trollinger, who is the uncle of Tyler Lewis, the 19-year-old Black boy who was unfortunately stabbed to death while on campus at the University of Buffalo in October. We'll continue the conversation with Ryan, with Suzette, and with you. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, we have been talking about the unfortunate stabbing of 19-year-old Tyler Lewis, who was a sophomore at the University of Buffalo. Back on October the 14th, Tyler was hanging out with some friends, heading to a party, when unfortunately he got into some issues and that left him to be fatally stabbed. And today we've been talking to Tyler's uncle, Ryan Trollinger, to give us some updates on the case, where there are still a lot of unanswered questions. Ryan, first and foremost, you know, our condolences and our hearts go out to you and to your family. The community here on The Culture, folks online have just expressed a tremendous amount of support for you and holding you and your family in prayer and in light. And I know that this is beyond tragic, not just because of losing the life of your nephew Tyler, but then going through all of this other stuff, trying to get some answers, trying to go through the investigation. I know that Suzette, you mentioned University of Buffalo, the Buffalo Police Department, and I'm not saying just beyond the legal stuff. I mean, I'm wondering, has the University of Buffalo student body, has that community spoken up and said, no, something needs to be done. Something needs to be, there needs to be something done for Tyler Lewis. Have you heard anything, Ryan?
So I think that's kind of in the process now. As you know, like a lot of the students go away for school now, like it's the winter holiday. But I'm hoping that as we come back, or they come back, so to speak, that we can gather the troops to kind of bring some more awareness. And again, as you mentioned, we're doing we're doing our best, I should say, to speak, on Instagram. We've got a Instagram, Justice for Tyler Lewis, where we post as much as we can. We've been reaching out to different groups at Buffalo, the student body, to kind of bring awareness to this, because to be honest, even in Buffalo, it's not really a known case. This is kind of like a separate district. The school is in a separate district in Buffalo. So it wasn't really highlighted in Buffalo. So me and my family, we don't live upstate New York. We live downstate in Long Island. So it's really hard for us to kind of make that awareness known, but we're trying to do it virtually as much as we can. So if any folks are out there and you're on Instagram, if you could, just add Tyler Justice, the number 4, Tyler Lewis. And if you see any videos, repost that as much as we can to just tag anyone to get, as Suzette had mentioned, any senators, anyone in positions to kind of help bring some awareness to get people to actually look at this case is going to be very, very beneficial because it's not greatly known outside of Buffalo and not enough in New York as well.
That is I have to say, Ryan, that is quite odd that you're not hearing it even in Buffalo. I mean, Long Island, I understand because it's New York and news cycles and everything, but you're not getting even real coverage in Buffalo like that about this case.
Recently, they did highlight a story on my sister. I want to say a week and a half ago.
I saw that. Yes, there was that WGCZ or something.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. But even to get that, we had to, that wasn't something that was brought to us. We were doing this awareness on Instagram, and some kind-hearted folks were able to put us in touch with some folks to kind of help bring that awareness to reach out to the radio stations and the TV stations. But this should be a national story. Like you see other crimes like they're brought on CNN and some of these higher level platforms, and of course on your platform as well. So we're very appreciative of that. But
absolutely.
why aren't these stories heard further than just a regional area? Like this is a crime that should be highlighted. Like this is my nephew. Like I spent a lot of time. You see the picture in the background, like I miss him so much, and it's just heartbreaking to see this, man. I never thought I would experience something like this. This is crazy.
I can imagine, and let me just tell you, I know since you came on air, your whole spirit, brother. I mean, you are hurting, and I'm hurting. I'm hurting with you. I have a 9-year-old son, so I can only imagine that you raise a black boy to go a certain path, then he makes it to college, and then you're like, and then it's like he just gets snatched away in such a senseless way. So I can only imagine, brother Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh man, my heart, seriously, my heart drops for you, brother, because I just couldn't imagine losing my son, or any boy that's in my space. So my heart really goes out to you, Suzette. I'm wondering, because I know that as for a lot of victims' families, like brother Ryan and others, the hashtags, how strong with the social media present, how much weight does that carry, and how much weight can it carry when trying to get some level of coverage or at least bring some attention to a case like this?
I think, and I applaud you, Uncle, for doing as much as you can. I think sometimes we forget that these things don't happen in a vacuum. People still got to go to their jobs. People still got bills to pay. People still, life is still happening, even though you have gone through some major tragic incident of losing your nephew in this way. So I can imagine how much stress and how much pressure is on you and your family members. That's why I would hope, if you can, when you are posting, be sure to at some of these folks who have bigger platforms, not only the hashtag, because again, if his name is not widely known, it can help. But if you want to at a Ben Crump, for example, or at some other larger advocacy platforms, I think that would help, or DM, direct message them. I would also, if you probably haven't already, GoFundMe is a great way to get support. Sometimes you just don't have it financially, and it's a lot. Sometimes you can get attorneys to sign, on a contingency fee basis, or don't, do it for pro bono even. So even that is an alternative. You also want to, if you haven't already, just involve the local student body on his campus. So I'm thinking, I don't know if he was in a Greek letter organization. I don't know if he was a member of the Black Student Union, the student body president. You can get those people's emails off of, campus websites, etc., the dean's office and things like that. Universities do not like to be called out. and they I don't even know if did they make a statement or did they put out any statement from the university side?
They did. They said that the university is safe. However, the person that had to be apprehended, they immediately made that statement, which is understand that they want to reassure their student body that the campus is safe, but um, the person hasn't been arrested. How safe can it be?
Yeah, it definitely is going to take its email campaign. It's going to take advocacy groups coming alongside you. So therefore, you're going to need some help. So I would probably set up a GoFundMe if one hasn't been set up, and also work on what you can do virtually through tagging and adding people, direct messaging people, as well as maybe emailing like one general email to a bunch of different email addresses for your locals and your national and your state elected officials, things like that, as well as people in and around the Buffalo community who do this type of advocacy work.
And I think those are some great recommendations. But I'm wondering, do you have a family member or at least someone to help? I know you mentioned earlier that you're in Long Island. This happened in Buffalo. Is there a person that can serve as a liaison within the family between what's going on in Buffalo and Long Island?
Not yet. It's been so far. It's really a challenge. We were really hoping to get more information from the University of Buffalo Police around this case, but just as of recently, we just been disappointed. So I think those are next steps. So Suzette, you gave some great insight. We'll definitely heed to some of that advice to just ensure we put this out a little bit further, keep pressing forward.
Well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to. I'm going to do my due diligence. I mean, of course, this platform is always open to you and your family, Brother Ryan. But then, of course, if you haven't talked to Brother Roland, to send it up to Brother Roland as well, and continue to just put it out there even more, because one thing about the Black Star Network. We have these stories and have these conversations about unjustified killing of Black people all across this country. And so Brother Roland covers these stories a lot. I cover these stories when they come to my attention as well. So I'm going to do my part. And Suzette has a YouTube.
I would love to have you on.
And we can start to build the network. And we can talk off air about some opportunities, some other folks that I think that will be helpful for you and your family to get the word out, because the media attention, and I mean, it's unfortunate, you gotta let, it's kind of like quote unquote, and I hate to use this term, but gotta put that story out there, sell that story, so that way it can kind of work its way all the way up to the top. Because to Suzette's point, a lot of these institutions and even these police departments, they don't move until they feel that public pressure. And this will be swept under the rug. And our little brother Tyler don't deserve to die unknown, don't deserve to die in vain. And so we're not going to allow that by the grace of the Almighty, that we're going to make sure that his story of being the great nephew that he was, his story of being a phenomenal young Black man, his story of being a great student, his story of wanting to live, is going to be told properly. But it starts with us here at Black Star. So you have our full support, and we'll definitely get you connected, and I'll connect you with Suzette and others, and helping you to get this story out there. Is there anything else that you want us to know to help you in this process, Brother Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I previously mentioned, just going out on Instagram and following that Tyler, the number 4, Justice for the number 4, Tyler Lewis, and just to kind of speak a little bit about my nephew. Like, as you can see, this is a picture of me and him. We went out networking to kind of find him an internship at a rooftop. And Tyler wanted to be a very business-minded person. He was interested in real estate. He was interested in business. He asked me about stocks. He knew about starting businesses and all of that stuff. This lost potential is just really, really hard, because I poured a lot into my nephew. I love my nephew so much. It hurts me every single day. I go to the cemetery at least once a week just to talk to him and just pour out my heart and just tell him how much I love him. I used to tell Tyler that I would always have his back. And in this situation, I just feel like I fell short. But this kid was so special. If you guys were ever to meet Tyler, like he would give you the shirt off his back. He had the biggest heart. He would go with his grandmother to church for the whole day. He would go out of his way to buy people stuff. Like this kid was just special. And like for him to go down like this, it just hurts.
I can imagine, brother. I can imagine. Well, you have our full support. We will talk offline, and God willing, we'll get this story elevated even more and highlighted even more. And we truly appreciate you for taking time out to tell this story, to share the sentiments of your family. But trust me and trust and believe this, bro. You are home with Black Star Network. You are home with the culture. You are home with Suzette Speaks. We will support you in this effort. All right,
Absolutely.
Brother Ryan?
Bless you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all for having me on today.
Stay strong. Don't blame yourself. Stay strong.
Oh, no, don't do that. Definitely don't do that. Give your sister, and I know she is probably going through it, but give your sister Waukesha all of the love and the blessings of us here on Black Star Network, brother. I'm telling you, we want to send her some good vibes, good energy, a lot of hugs. This is a trying time for you, her, and the family. We're here for you, bro. We are here for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and love to your family during the holidays. I wish you guys, blessings.
Absolutely. Thank you. Folks, we got to take another pause. When we come forward, let's have another conversation about culture and everything. But let's just give us a moment to take in all that you heard. Make sure y'all check out Justice for Tyler on Instagram. Be a part of the campaign to elevate his story so we can finally get some questions answered. Stay with us. It's the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks. Now we're going to shift gears to talking about another family issue. This is a conversation that many people have been having across this country in light of some of the recent action and behavior of the person that's at the center of the controversy. And I'm speaking of Nick Cannon, folks. Now, we know Nick Cannon from shows such as The Masked Singer and Wildin' Out. But we also know Nick Cannon as being the father of 11 children with a 12th child on the way. Well, in a recent interview, Nick has said and has admitted and has certainly lamented about him not being as present in his children's lives as he wants to be. Now, as a result of that, one of his children's mother by the name of Bree, and I want to make sure I'm saying this, and I want to bring the culture crew member, Suzette back into the conversation of this. But Bree Taisi, I think that's how we say her name, Bree Taisi.
I want to help you, but yeah, this ain't Bree. I think so.
Bree Taisi, she has gone on record via social media, via Instagram, saying that Nick is not just present, he's a loving dad. Take a look at what she posted here, folks. This is about Bree Taisi. This is from Bree Taisi. She said this in an Instagram post where she showed photos of her taking pictures for the holiday. One of the users pointed out that how Cannon appears to always show up for his children in the comments section, and she reposted the message in a since deleted Instagram story post and added, quote, "This Nick always shows up, always present, happy, consistent, loving parent, and even better person. We love you." This is interesting. Here's the Instagram post from Bri Taisi. This is one of his children's mothers. And she actually posted, there are various pictures of them, Nick holding the baby, Nick holding his son, planting the beans, and all of these things for the holidays. And he's expecting a 12th child on the way.
Nick stay busy.
And I'm not talking about with work.
No. My goodness.
Here's the thing. Now, I mean, there's so many like levels and layers to this conversation, which is why I wanted to have this with you today, Suzette, because I don't know. And here's the let me just go back. There is another hip hop artist by the name of Akon. Y'all remember Locked Up? Akon. Right. Akon. He believes that this is what men are supposed to do. He believes that this is fine, that you can have that as men, we are supposed to go out and sow the seed. And this is what he comes to the defense of Nick Cannon. And my concern on this, Suzette, is the wrong message. Here is a man who is already admitting in the very beginning of this process that, look, I might not be able to be as present. And then you have another influential voice who's saying, you know what? This is what men are supposed to do. And then you have the child's mother saying he is present. A lot of mixed messages.
Well, I think we have to kind of first approach this with, Nick Cannon has so many accomplishments as just an actor, performer, musician. So I always want to lay that out there and respect the brother for his work. And so therefore we can pivot to the personal issues. Again, I'm not really want to talk on other people's personal issues because everybody got baggage. However, he put this out there. Right. It was something that, again, became kind of like of the public domain because you yourself, sir, are talking about how you feel. So he felt he should put that on social media. So here we are. So my issue is with every choice, there has always got to be consequences. So when we're making choices, the innocent parties in this, the children, are the ones that have to live with, the decisions of the adults many times for whatever reason they are pursuing this type of complex family structure. For them, people tend to fall into two main, categories. Either they're really disgusted by it and they're saying that their feeling towards Nick is that he's a philanderer. He's creating broken homes left and right. There are so many people, i.e. the children, that are going to suffer from this. And even the women. And again, you cannot, we read her quote, but of course there's a lot of bias when there's checks involved. But, her opinion, respect her opinion. But yeah, I think there's
she's one of 11. She's one of what, 4, 5?
Yeah. And then there's a camp that's like, if it works for them, let them do them. But again, they are always kind of qualifying that because Nick has the money to be able to sustain, at least financially, these households. So everybody can't rock like this because they don't have Nick's pocketbook. So yes, the question becomes whether, financial security and be able to provide for many different households financially is enough justification to do what he has done here. Or is there going to be perhaps long-term harm because he can't spend as much time as he has said himself in this kind of post, that he can't spend as much time and he feels guilty. It's a deep feeling. Parents feel guilty all the time, but for him to express that so openly, it says it's weighing on him. So there is more to the story. Obviously, we don't know the intricacies and the ins and outs of every day and who get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, next month, next week, and how the travel schedule goes. I'm really curious about that, just to see how he can try to attempt to balance. But yeah, the people who are going to end up with the outcome, the children of this arrangement long term, don't have much of a say. So it's again, we got to weigh, balance the choices with the consequences that they are going to inevitably lead us to. And I don't think he's satisfied with his outcomes, or he wouldn't be writing that.
I agree. All right, let me hear from. We're going to take a couple of comments because, of course, our online culture crew, Suzette, got a lot to say.
Watching the chat, yes.
They got a lot to say about this. Corinna, you said Nick is sick. Ouch. All these kids is ridiculous. They are not products, but living and breathing human beings. And I think that's the other part of this, right? That's the other part of this, that at the end of the day, they're children. Children need to be in a home where father and mother are present, or where there's a nurturing home, a caring home. They just need to have some energy, some various energy, some good balanced energy in that home, right? Yeah. But at the same time, we as adults, we make these choices.
Yeah.
You know what
is his plan? This is like, these are not oops. These are plans.
I'm gonna give the women the benefit of the doubt, because I as a black man, I can't beat up on no black women for making this decision, right? So I can't speak to that. What I am speaking about is just that when you are an adult, quote unquote, a grown ass adult, you should be making some better choices beyond just the present moment, right? And we all fall short in that space. I'm not saying I'm perfect either. Yeah. My point is that as you mature, you really start to feel the sting of bad choices.
Absolutely.
You feel the burn of consequences. You like,
now you're like, wait a minute. He must have had a plan. He must have thought he had a plan, but
let me tell you, and let me tell you, I don't think, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't think Nick Cannon, and I'm not counting his pockets or anything, but he must have a lot of money to support 11 children.
At a certain lifestyle, at a very high lifestyle. Yeah.
You're supporting 11 children. I don't know whether he lives in Los Angeles, if he lives in some other state. You
stress. Stress.
I mean, seriously. So you gotta, that dough must be rolling in. And if there's one thing you find it, but even beyond the finances, because everybody like, well, he got the money for it. It doesn't matter. The child needs their father.
Yeah.
They need the energy, they need the guidance, they need the constant love, they need the cultivation, they need their father. Yeah. That's what it comes down to. And for Akon to even come out and say, well, that's the way it's supposed to be, like, bruh, what are we saying? So now, then if the next generation of young black men go out and start sowing their seeds randomly, right? Then we're going to have a conversation on this show and other black shows where we're talking about what? Deadbeat dads, missing black fathers.
And kids posting online like Lil Romeo.
Hey, Lil Romeo, be like Lil Romeo and Kirk Franklin's sons.
Exactly. I mean, not to laugh at that. That's real pain. They're actually,
that's what I'm saying. Real trauma.
Yeah.
Real trauma. Real pain. Like you weren't there. Mom told me you were deadbeat. And when the check stopped checking, then what?
It's heavy.
I mean, seriously, like, and that's the part about it. Like, it's all fun, it's all fodder, it's all celebrity gossip and all of that. But at the end of the day, these children, they're going to take the brunt of it. These relationships, I think somebody else pushed, let me make sure, I want to make sure. Turner family, you said, how is any parent going to show their children how a healthy relationship works when you're not even together? I don't agree that you always got to be together to show a healthy relationship, because how many of our parents have stayed together for the sake of children and they were miserable? And you want to bring that misery into the household instead of allowing people to they can part ways and still be healthy about it. and just teaching your child that even if in disagreement, we can come back to a healthy place for the benefit of you. But, you know, there has to be some maturity there in that piece as well. So I'm not fully in agreement with that Turner family. You know what I'm saying? Because why force people who don't want to be together to stay together for the sake of the children? That's an 18-year commitment at least. In this modern time, the average child don't leave the household, Suzette, until they like 23, 24, 25 years old. Then you want to break up. I'm like, come on, man. Nobody got that time to waste.
Funny.
All right, look, we got to take a quick pause. We're going to take more. We're going to get more comments. I'm going to continue to pick Suzette's brain on this issue. But what do you make of Nick Cannon lamenting about him feeling guilty that he's not going to be as present as his father for his 11 children? Post your comments and continue to join us here as we have that discussion. So stay tuned. That discussion continues here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, we have been having a conversation talking about the recent statements coming from superstar entertainer Nick Cannon, the host of The Masked Singer and Wildin' Out, where he has admitted that he feels guilty about not being as present for his 11 children as much as he wants to be. He said this in a recent interview. He has a 12th child on the way, and one of his baby's mothers have said, Brie Taisi has said that he is very present. He has been there. He's been consistent. But she's just one of a number of women who have had a child with the superstar actor. Now, the question becomes, can we really have a conversation about the importance of having fathers in the household? Can we really have a conversation? I'm joined by my sister, Culture Crew member. She serves as a TV host and attorney. Suzette Speaks. Suzette, I think, and I'm trying to take the fodder out of this discussion, because I feel like this behavior will have a more lasting impact on people, where they feel like that this is good, that this is right, this is responsible. And I'm not saying that he can't take care of his children financially. I don't know. But I know that children cost a hell of a lot more than they did 20 years ago. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But it's so much more than just about the dollars. People always say he can take care of you. if the child is in New York and he lives here in California, what you going to do, bro? What you going to do? You going to FaceTime him every day? Like,
I'm gonna say that's a whole lot of FaceTime. Like, we have to be really careful because, again, this is going to have an impact on the culture, and we need to ask ourselves in terms of our own commentary here, and then everyone watching, what are we accepting as a culture, and is this beneficial to our culture long term? Now, let's take out Nick's money because, again, we also have to understand: is it the value of money that we're describing that justifies his behavior? Or the amount of money he has, his assets justify his behavior? Or can we extrapolate? Can we look at an everyday person, middle-class person who doesn't have as much as Nick has doing the same thing? What would we say about them? And I think once we peel back the financial so-called justification of it, anyone else doing this, what would we think about the impact they are having on the little people, the human beings that they are charged with raising? We know now that money isn't everything. We have had much more of a conscientious mind in the last 20 years as a society towards the nurturing aspect and the importance of the parents in terms of their role in child development. And when we have situations like this, when we're trying to plaster this, I think because he got the money, let him be. I think we also have to look at this as, who are we choosing to be role models? Because we've had in our culture, the celebrity automatically makes you a role model type deal. Or does it best serve our culture to call it out and to stand against it, to say, Nick, we love you, brother. Again, your work speaks for itself. But as a role model, if this happens in every hood, every suburb around the country, among Black communities, what would we really be left with, right? So I think we have to really be careful as a culture what we're saying is cool because he can afford to do it and it's his choice. His money is long, so it's all good. Versus what everyday Joes who don't have Nick Cannon's money, who are looking at his situation saying, well, why not, right? We already have some of that informally going on, but we know what those results are. So I think we have to be careful about embracing this or not calling it out. If we are saying, maybe the decisions he's making are actually harmful to the kids, especially in the long run.
Damn. I'm gonna say that, Suzette. Damn. I'm saying I'm serious. You touching on, that's a hard pill to swallow. Damn. That you
everybody cannot do this, and everybody shouldn't do this. I will call that out.
No. Oh, hell no. No, and here's one of the big things that I say time and time again. One of the major sciences that has been robbed from Black folks as a result of the transatlantic slave trade, one of the things that we have been robbed of is the science of family planning. We just don't do that as much, right? I mean, our grandparents probably do or have heard of that. Maybe some of our parents, but I'm saying in this current generation of young people and older folks, just let's say young folks, Nick Cannon's age, right? Who, like, where are we having these very real conversations about family planning, being able to identify, like, and more importantly, this also opens up the door for defining what a quote unquote a family is, right? Because now that's being challenged and changing. And so we understand that that's the culture of the way things are going. But family planning, like, it's you when you have a child, you're not just living for yourself. When you bring a human being into this world, you are responsible, not the government, not the state, not your grandmother,
not the teachers at the school.
Nope. You are responsible.
Yeah.
I mean. And this is, and it's all well and good till that baby starts crying.
Or talking to you. Or talking back to you.
I'm going to get close to the camera. Asking for stuff.
Yes. And asking.
You don't have.
Yeah, exactly. No,
I'm serious. The science of family planning, and this is not trying to be on some conservative tip, but I'm talking about being responsible in your choices. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to think maturely to be responsible in your choices and bringing people and bringing human beings into the world. All right, let me go to a couple of more Culture Crew comments here. Karen Coffee Carlton. Karen, good to hear from you today. You said, I don't think Nick and his followers are being honest about effectively managing multiple children's needs and expectations.
Yeah. I think what she says is completely correct. There's so much that I wanted to add with your commentary on family planning. Yeah. I think sometimes we have overplanned. I think that is a conversation that I'm trying to maybe delve into on my channel when we talk about many of our middle class and very educated sisters are not necessarily looking at building families early enough, if you will. And then we're running into a lot of issues when it comes to finding suitable mates in terms of, who's left, I guess, on the playing field when we are ready to move forward with family planning. I think some of those conversations used to be passed on with mamas and grandmamas and things like that. Instead, we are so focused in terms of our career development. Sometimes that is what came to mind when you were speaking of that. And then we have the other side of the pendulum where there are people within our culture, different socioeconomic levels, who look at family in a way of almost, it's like a haphazard, maybe non-structured, and just kind of free for all when it comes to, like, I respect the fact that there's many forms families can take, right? It's not one size fits all at all, because we just have so many more complexities when it comes to the social structures that we live in. But I do think, we have different degrees of family planning discussions that are not happening, that need to happen when it comes to the full impact on our community and on the individuals involved. So I think there are various ways that you can look at that. But for sure, I think in the way that you may have meant it, when we're looking at what benefits the child the most, the research continues to show, like, a stable, normally two-parent household has the best results. Kids are less depressed. Kids have better scores in school in terms of tests, better outcomes in terms of their life trajectory. Of course, we have many exceptions to that. Everybody wants to paint one rosy picture, but people are human, right? We have exceptions to that rule, but overall, we know that the best outcomes come from that structure. But there's a very big kind of push, in my opinion, to separate and to kind of create distrust from the Black woman to the Black man in terms of trusting each other enough so that we are pursuing relationships early enough so that we have the best outcomes in our lives. Does that make sense? I hope.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and I'm happy that you brought that up, because I think that's another part of this discussion that need to be had. Talking about the timing of things, and there have been studies recently that shows that people are waiting later on in life to get married, to have children, and all of those things. But look, I thought I waited too late to have my children, right? And I was in my 30s. And
I ain't got no kids, Roger. Right, so what you want to say?
But let me tell you, once the later and later you get in life, and I'm sure some of our Culture Crew members can attest to it, like, life gets a little bit harder if you bring in a child into the world in your 40s and in your 50s.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people can afford children, but think they cannot. This is another thing.
And look, let me tell you, this is the beauty of parenthood. You will find a way.
Yes.
If you are a good parent, I'm saying a loving parent, you may think that you can't find a way. I'm telling you. And we have found a way. And it was just like, well, how are we going to do this? And then all of a sudden, God just said, here you go.
Yes.
You're like, damn, I'm feeding one. And next thing you know, another one comes out. You're like, damn, I'm feeding two.
And you make it happen. You make it work. Yeah.
You make it work. And God willing, your children come out to be decent little human beings. Yeah. They understand the sacrifice that's being made, but you will find a way. That's what parents do, because it's not always, and I'm saying, when I say family planning, and I'm not saying down to the minute, to the month, but down to the time frame of where you want to build a family. Like you mentioned, finding a suitable mate. I mean, this is all the science that I think, not truly like mating, planning families. This is a science, folks, because now we do have to be more intentional, because the family serves as the cornerstone of the community.
If I had a reggaeton, that's it.
I mean, and we can act like we can act like that's not the case. But any one of us who have benefited from being a part of any, whether it's a small family or been a big family, and a lot of us come from healthy big families, you know that world, that space that you came in, that was your first community, the family. Then you had the outer community in which you grew up in, and it made all the difference in the world. It makes all the difference in the world. It gives, and we're talking about how can we add the best chances for life to take place in our community. I mean, and it's nothing crazy about that. It's nothing crazy that you want to have the necessary energies in the space of the growth and development of your children. It's nothing crazy that you want to have a community.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a hood. I want to have a neighborhood.
I think we got to take a break for Raji. Yeah.
Let's take a break. Let's take a quick pause. Folks, stay with us. More conversation here on The Culture, here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, now we want to turn our attention to social media. Now, as we have been reporting on this platform and you've seen in other spaces, what's going on with Twitter? Well, the latest story that we had shared with you is that on Sunday, Elon Musk had posted a poll saying that he would step down if it was the will of the people, of Twitter users. Well, 17 million people voted in that poll, and an overwhelming number of nearly 58% of those who voted said that they wanted Elon to step down as the CEO. As a result of that, yesterday, the chief twit, I think that's what he called it, he came out and said in a statement that he would resign as Twitter's chief executive. Take a look at this, folks, that this is what Elon Musk put out. He said that he would resign as Twitter's chief executive officer when he found, quote, someone foolish enough to take the job. 2 days after he had asked his 122 million Twitter followers whether he should step down as the leader of the social media site, and a majority of respondents answered yes. Once he found someone foolish enough to take the job, he would step down. This is the headline from the New York Times, that when he will resign as the Twitter CEO when he finds a successor. Now, as a result of this announcement, there has been some conversation about who should head Twitter. The other part about Elon Musk is that he said he would step down as CEO, but would still retain ownership. So there has been some conversation in Black media spaces about who could possibly take over Twitter. And joining me, of course, is Suzette. Suzette, there have been a number of people that have been identified as potential CEOs, and even is going as far as owners. Like, who will save Twitter? That's the question that the Root put out there. And they have identified a number of people, which I thought was pretty interesting. They say a lot of wealthy Black folks, billionaires and some millionaires, who could possibly save the social media site. My question becomes, though, is this our battle to fight? as Black folks, do we need to look at Twitter and say, you know what, this is going to be our platform, so much so that we're willing to invest our time, our skills, our talents to save it?
I do believe it is our turf. I think it belongs to us in a sense. First of all, the question may become who can save Twitter from Elon Musk, because I will say I have a conflict of interest as an owner of Tesla stock. I'm glad all of you who voted in the Twitter.
Tesla is hurting right now.
Yes. I'm like, what is going on? Thank
Tesla's
you for those
hurting.
who voted in the Twitter poll and have this man come back to his senses, so to speak, because again, you can be brilliant in some areas, but not be a good administrator. And firing half your staff and seeing all of the changes that sometimes get implemented, then have to be rolled back, and not being able to kind of meet the expectations of what they were designed to do. It shows a lot. He exposed himself in terms of his ability to lead as, like I said, a top exec. Sometimes you got to let other people who can handle the job do the job. Elon, thank you. So that was quite surprising, I think, to all of us. So to your question, when it comes to should we actually be looking to invest or even own this space, I say yay. I say yes because of Black Twitter. As we have seen this platform develop over the last few years of its existence, Black Twitter has become just this powerful phenomenon that through this space, unlike any other, has allowed us an unfiltered, unified social exchange where we have been able to say what needs to be said, bring attention to issues and all types of policy and ways in which we can advocate for what we think is important. I think the Black Twitter space, which for those who may not know watching, is, this informal group of everybody from politicians to journalists to everyday folks who care and more. Who kind of have this unadulterated conversation that leads to change. Some of the top hashtags ever used on Twitter are related to Black people and our struggles. And we have become a very important cornerstone of what this, even though it hasn't been profitable, the value of this company has been. When you want to know what really happens and what needs to come out in terms of breaking news, you check Twitter. So I do think for preservation of the space, for what it has meant to Black Twitter and the continued community that has evolved and blossomed in the last 5-6 years, I think it might be worth looking at it and in terms of making it more, viable as far as a profit-making scheme or organization. And we need fresh blood. So good for Elon to realize sometimes when you need to kind of step out of your own way. And if a person of African descent wants to come through, I think it would be an awesome investment.
It's going to be interesting. And I love, Lana, your take on this. You said, Elon, right when I made the jump, I'm enjoying the space. Elon realized it's a financial dump. It's ours to save because we are the content.
Yes. Well said. Well said.
Okay, Lana. Okay. Okay. Jawan, you checked in and say he should step down as owner too. Sell it to someone who won't actively work to dismantle it.
Yeah, that's another part of that. Yep.
So Jawan, I appreciate that. Let me just share with you with some of the names that have come up in this conversation. Let's start with Mr. Bob Johnson. Y'all remember Bob? Y'all know who Bob Johnson is.
BET.
The founder of BET, the former owner of the Charlotte Bobcats, Bob Johnson. He's been one of the top investors. He's a major player, billionaire at the forefront. And they're saying that he could put together a group of investors that could take and make Twitter fun again. I can see that being a hashtag, make Twitter fun again.
Make Twitter great again.
It is. There's another person. This is an interesting gentleman. I never heard of this gentleman until the Root brought it up, but David Stewart, he's the billionaire who's the founder and chairman of Worldwide Technologies, one of the largest Black-owned companies in the United States. So they're saying that his transition into the social media space would be seamless. I've never heard of this brother, but I'm not surprised because I'm not in tech. So I could see that. I could definitely see that. Julia Collins, she's the first Black woman to co-found a company valued at $1 billion by investors. She already works in the world of technology thanks to her company, Zoom Pizza, which uses robots for pizza production.
Wow. Isn't it good to know that we have that many Black billionaires? Praise God.
I'm telling you.
Wow.
Of course, the other person who you and I talked about, Mr. Robert Smith, he is one of the richest Black men in the world. He's the founder of Vista Equity Partners. Remember, he pledged $4 million to help Morehouse students pay off student loan debt. So we know that he probably has some interest. He may have some interest in investing in the social media space because he invested in software companies, and it would kind of be a natural fit. But I don't know. And then here are some game changers, folks, very quickly. Some game changers on this. Some people have gone as far as to say some hip hop names. Dr. Dre, who could have been hip hop's first billionaire, but that was derailed after Tyrese made that video. Dr. Dre, they're saying that he already works in tech because of Beats by Dre, which he sold to Apple for $3 billion, and so this might be the next big investment for him. And of course, young Hove himself, Jay-Z.
Throw it up.
Hip-hop first billionaire, and he has a relationship with the founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey. They're saying that he could possibly do it, especially since he's kind of dibble and dabbled in the world of, I think he was doing Bitcoins, and then he was doing some other tech, some tech stuff. So he may want to be a part of the conversation on that respect. There's also Rihanna. People said, she can go from laundry to social media.
Makeup, lingerie, everything. She busy with her little one. I don't know.
I don't know if that's a good fit for her. Some people also are saying LeBron James. I don't know. I don't know if these names and see, we counting people's pockets, which I hate.
Well, the hard part is, even though we have this wonderful list, and shout out to The Root for allowing us to see inside, many of these names that we really haven't even heard of. There are some like Robert Smith that have become popularized, but many on that list. When I was reading the article, I was like, okay, we got more Black billionaires that I was aware of, and how they made their money, more importantly, is highlighted there. So go check it out. But yeah, the question still remains is how to make Twitter profitable. So if you have someone like a Robert Smith, whose equity firm, usually when you see private equity firms, they go into companies and switch it up and trying to make it more profitable and grow it and sell it. Or sometimes it's more profitable to break down and sell the pieces. So you kind of don't know what you'll get when it comes to someone like him. But anyone on that list, I just believe in us. So I know there are people who would form a team that would make sure, they have the right sensibilities when it comes to that ethos. And I saw a question that, someone asked, I don't see the name of who, Black Twitter is. It's not separate. It is a part of Twitter, but we find each other through those hashtags. So, and then following those stories that matter to the Black community, you'll find one another quite easily. So for that community that has organically sustained and really become the heart and soul of Twitter, I hope, this is a wish list, of course. There may be one of us that is interested in taking the plunge. But again, how to make it profitable still remains the most important question of this deal.
And can I also add what also remains the most important part of this deal?
What's that?
If you bring Black folks in, you still got to deal with its owner.
Yeah.
Look,
I don't know.
We will have to see. Elon Musk may find a successor soon, or he may delay the time to keep himself in power. But I think he's
a majority shareholder right now, so
hey, look,
he's going nowhere right now. Yeah,
right. He's not going anywhere, and he looks like he's keeping his part of the bargain. He said he's stepping down. Now let's see if anyone steps up.
As he says, if anyone is dumb enough. Foolish enough, I think he said, to take over. But it's not. There's a lot of people that can do the job. Just it was difficult for him. Yeah, exactly.
All right, folks, we got to take a final pause. When we come forward, let's talk about Transpost and doing the most. Stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?
All right, folks, what's trending right now in Black Twitter? Let's bring Suzette back. What's trending right now in Black Twitter right now, Suzette? Well, everybody is awaiting the premiere of the new 8-episode limited series, The Best Man, final chapters. That's what's
This is juicy as the original, baby. I cannot wait.
Tomorrow on Peacock Network. But how are you here for it, Suzette? Are you here for it?
You know what? Sometimes the spinoffs aren't as good. But for example, I really enjoyed the Fresh Prince spinoff on Peacock. That was amazing. And so it's just like, please don't mess it up. But I'm here for it. I'm giving it benefit of the doubt.
Of course, this is the story of a group of friends that have come together. And of course, if you follow this story, the original movie came out like 20 years ago.
Crazy.
Like 20 years ago.
It's crazy. I know.
So there's a couple of criticisms about this new limited series that's going to be airing. First and foremost, they're going to drop all I think, and this is what I read, they're going to drop all 8-hour-long episodes at one time.
Okay. I'm for that. I'm a binge watcher.
You're a binge watcher, so you all for it.
Yeah.
I mean, some things I love to binge, other things personally I love to just kind of like, look forward to. But okay. All right. So that's one thing. But they also said, the Hollywood Reporter said that it treads familiar ground because it doesn't go too deep into unknown territory. It picks up where the story left off, where Morris's Chestnut's character, his wife passed away. Now he has to kind of go through life and picks up certain things. Of course, they talk a little bit more about social issues than they generally talk about. But then there was another a piece about that, which is that the women characters have more dimension now. Mm-hmm. That they get more, like equal screen time. I'm talking about like Sanaya Lathan and Nia Long and what's the Regina Hall?
Yeah.
Right, right. They're getting more screen time, so there's a little bit more equity in the filmmaking. But there still seems to be a little bit more focus on the relationship and friendship of the men than there so of the women. But what do you make of these criticisms?
I'm okay with it. I mean, the movie is called The Best Man. I think when it came out, it was so groundbreaking. If y'all remember, this was like a seminal movie. I remember of my coming of age watching this and to see all those beautiful, I'm sorry if it's shallow, Black chocolate looking, wonderfully, what should I say?
Wonderfully sculpted men.
Especially that Morris Chestnut. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm done. Okay, I'm done.
First thing, Morris Chestnut man looked like he did. He looked like he aged, but he didn't age.
No, and I hope he keeps it up, and we're gonna see some of that. Sorry for being shallow, but listen, hey, I just remember his first appearance in the movie coming on the screen, and we like to be very vocal, us in the diaspora when we watch. Wakandans tend to be a little louder in the theater, but the oohs and I just remember that movie was full of loud expressions by the audience because we were into it. We were into the characters, and to see Black men emoting and talking about different parts of their lives, and marriage being a kind of centerpiece of what brought them together. And then of course the little messed up part with Taye Diggs, having the secret that he wanted to bring up the day before the wedding, like, who does this? The fight scene, I remember that very vividly. And so I was like, I have to go back and watch this, but maybe I don't, because I do remember a lot of the scenes. So the fact that they thought it was worth another go, I think it's good. Maybe that the ladies have more dimension is actually, I think, a good thing. I don't think they were, front and center for good reason. It was a show about men and men's relationships, right? College friends, men who cared deeply for one another, going through the stages of life together. I think that was the centerpiece. So now, 20 years later, the entertainment industry has evolved, so has society. So that, storylines involving more women and how women, see, hear, feel in these same situations being more, front and center, I think is okay too. But the fact that it stayed kind of true to its essence, the best man, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. And I'm here for it. I want to see my brothers in action. I don't know, what surprises might lie in these 8 episodes. I hope they don't mess it up, but I'm here for it. Good Black art is what I'm here for. So I can't wait to
I'm for it. I'm definitely here for it, and I want to see it. And there's nothing wrong with having beautiful people, beautiful Black folks on screen.
Nothing
There's
wrong
with that. I love it. But I think that it's films like this. That film, when 20 years ago, when it came out, it cost $9 million to make at that time, and it made like $43 million or something in the box office. So it wasn't like a big blockbuster film, but at the same time, a lot of Black films, like Black rom-coms, of this nature, did not make a lot of, because it wasn't a space in
it was groundbreaking. It was groundbreaking.
It wasn't a space in the market for it, right? But that film launched the career of all of them.
Yes.
It was that film. Like Morris Chestnut, remember, he was in Boys in the Hood playing Ricky. Morris Chestnut and Boys in the Hood, Cuban Gooding Jr., Larry Fishburne. That's one of my favorite Black films of all time.
Another seminal film.
Seminal. I mean, I'm telling you. But it launched the careers of all of these guys. And I don't know if y'all have been keeping up with Morris or Taye Diggs or Neil, but Morris has been in The Resident. He's been in All American, where he's also co-starring with his brother and friend, Taye Diggs. He came in on All American. Taye Diggs stayed working. So, you're seeing all of these different actors. Terrence Howard, of course, we know his rise. That's from the film. He's one of my favorite characters in the film. Nia Long. We've seen Regina Hall taking a much more serious note. So, it's beautiful to see it, and I'm definitely here for it. I hope that the only thing that can kill this limited series, Suzette, is bad writing.
Yes, I was just thinking that. I was like, I hope the writers got it together, because again, for these people to even be working in Hollywood 20 years later says a lot, right?
Big thing.
I'm excited for each and every one of them. Mm-hmm.
The showrunner for this limited series comes out of the Insecure camp, where she was working with. It's a Black woman. She was working with Issa Rae on Insecure, so she's taken on the helm of being the showrunner for this limited series. So there is a lot of Black culture connected to it. So I hope that folks check it out, and we can have a conversation about it. You know what I'm saying?
Let's see people. I'm here for it. I will be
watching.
Do a
little review of it. I'm with it. I'm with it.
I think again, it also with this kind of renaissance of what's old. I can't believe it's called old now, but like that old culture of hip hop now becoming, renewed or refreshed again. I just think it's a part of, the imprint it had on Black culture. All these years later, we're still interested in the best man. So for the kids who weren't around when it was first made and how important it was for us to see, positive images, Black men in their full glory. Again, intelligent conversations, great writing, compelling storylines, lots of passionate, scenes. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful piece of art. So the fact that it was, it was seen as something that was so good enough to revive it, I'm really excited for what it might be. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Well, Suzette, I appreciate you. We know that you got your YouTube show. We're always looking forward to you. I had a chance to tune into a couple of the episodes.
Yes, you did.
Dope.
Thank you.
Dope.
Yes,
so make sure y'all check out Suzette Speaks on YouTube for her show.
Go over and sub, please. Sub. I need subs.
Subscribe to it and support her because she is a phenomenal host, art, and guest as well. So,
I think we are live. Hey, everyone.
Absolutely. There it is. All right, Suzette, thank you so much for being so good for the culture today. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
All right. Thank you. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Make sure y'all show y'all support for Black Star Network. Go to our website today, blackstarnetwork.com. Support us financially and continue to support us and subscribe to us. Download the app for free. And most importantly, let family and friends know that Black media is here. And we are here to tell our story and plead our case. So go to blackstarnetwork.com. Also follow us on social media at Black Star Network. And follow yours truly, Faraji Muhammad, me, this guy, on Instagram at The Real Faraji, as well as me at Faraji on Twitter. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you. I thank our fantastic special guest, Brian Trollinger, and our hearts and prayers go out to his family. And let's continue to hold them in the light. And most importantly, I thank all of you for tuning in. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture. Stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered here on the Black Star Network. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great afternoon and evening. Peace.